This is the Real Change Wilmington Podcast, episode 78, a lesson from the Southern Ohio Educational Service Center with our guest today, Curt Bradshaw.
Core principles for me are I want our staff to be a champion for children. And all that we do and all of the decisions that we make, it all has to come back to what's best for kids. The second is to be an ambassador of the Southern Ohio ESC. I want our staff to be out in the communities that we serve, positively representing our organization. And then lastly is to simply be well.
What is going on, everyone? This is your host of the Real Change Wilmington Podcast, Dustin Pierce. Real Change is a positive, constructive, and lighthearted source of local news, events, and resources. On our podcast, we interview leaders of local organizations to help squash rumors and encourage a greater sense of pride in our community. We have a great episode for you today with our guest, Curt Bradshaw, who is currently the superintendent of the Southern Ohio Educational Service Center out on Airborne Road. The Southern Ohio ESC began as a public education oversight body in 1914 and has evolved over the years into more of a service provider, offering help to school districts in a 5-county region that include Clinton, Fayette, Highland, Adams, and Brown counties. According to Curt, the Southern Ohio ESC receives grants and state funding, but is mainly funded through fees paid by school districts for the services that the ESC provides them. On the podcast, Curt overviews what he calls the 4 legs of the ESC, which include their state support team, their service providers, their Southern Ohio Learning Center for struggling students, and their services like curriculum and professional development. Curt is a Clinton County native who grew up on a local farm and graduated from Clinton-Massie High School. His mother and grandmother were both longtime teachers in the community, which inspired him to pursue his own career in education. And before becoming superintendent, Curt spent many years as a teacher in both the Clinton-Massie schools and Wilmington City schools. What I love most about our talk with Curt is that he has a very clear passion for our community and service to others. And I'm even more excited now for all of the amazing things that the Southern Ohio ESC is doing for Clinton County, including their help with the Workforce Collaborative and annual career fairs for our local students and employers. So with that, let's bring in our guest and get this podcast started. Curt Bradshaw, welcome to the Real Change Wilmington Podcast. You are the superintendent of the Southern Ohio Education Service Center.
Good afternoon. Yes, that is correct. I'm glad to be here today.
So you guys are located out by the air park, correct?
So we have 2 locations. One of the offices is in Wilmington out by the air park on Airborne Road, correct? We also have another office location in Highland County, just outside of Hillsboro in the New Market area. And the name of that office is the Hopewell Center.
What's the difference between the 2 offices?
So we have staff who work out at both of those locations and provided a variety of different services to schools in the region that we serve. So it's really just logistically, we have one office in Wilmington, we have some different services there, and then we have another office there in the Highland County area that provides other services.
Okay. So these are 5 counties. So what are those counties?
Yep. So it's a little complex. The Southern Ohio Educational Service Center serves school districts in Clinton, Fayette, and Highland counties. And then a portion of our team called the State Support Team also support school districts in Adams County and Brown County. And then we have some other related services providers, therapists, and so forth who provide support to some schools in Adams and Brown County as well. So, but our ESC itself serves Clinton, Fayette, and Highland counties. And then we just have some teams who also provide some services to some surrounding counties.
That is complex, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
So before we get into the Southern Ohio ESC, kind of tell us your background, where you're from, and what brought you to Wilmington.
Sure. Yeah. So born and raised right here in Clinton County, graduated from Clinton-Massie High School. I attended Clinton-Massie all the way through school and graduated from Clinton-Massie and went off to college at Miami University over in Oxford and then came back.
Same.
Awesome.
What
Very
year
good.
did you graduate?
I graduated a semester early, December of 2008.
Same year.
Really?
That's crazy.
Okay.
That's
December?
Crazy. Oh, I graduated in the fall.
Of 2008.
Yeah, that's my
Okay.
graduation.
Okay.
Wait. I'm sorry. That's when I graduated high school. I graduated college in
Yeah, right.
2012. Sorry, I got too excited there.
You're a few years younger, I think is what you were trying to get. No, that's funny. Yep. So proud Red Hawk, but I actually was fortunate enough to graduate a semester early and move back to Wilmington and Actually started substitute teaching for a semester there the rest of that school year, and then was able to get a full-time teaching position. So I've been here in the community for quite some time and live on a farm just outside of Wilmington.
So your degree, I assume, was in education, and what did you teach?
Yes. So my bachelor's degree is in middle childhood education with concentrations or focuses in language arts, English language arts, and social studies. So I first started teaching, I substitute taught at Clinton-Massie and at Wilmington City Schools. And then I got my first teaching position at Wilmington City Schools and taught at Wilmington Middle School, 6th grade English language arts here in town. And then from there transitioned over to Holmes Elementary within the Wilmington School District. At that time, Wilmington was a pre-K-5 school building, so I taught 5th grade English language arts at Holmes Elementary. And then after teaching in Wilmington, I transitioned my employment to the Southern Ohio ESC, where I am today. I'm working on my 14th year, but for the first several years, I was actually teaching as the gifted intervention specialist full-time at Clinton-Massie, a local school. So I was the K-12 gifted teacher at Clinton-Massie, but I was employed through the ESC. And I've been at the ESC ever since.
So you were employed at, I'm going to get this acronym wrong, ESC.
Yep.
Such a long acronym.
Yes.
Like it's the Southern Ohio plus ESC.
Yes.
The whole thing.
Yep.
But so you were employed through there. You didn't do any like work there. You just were on site at Clinton-Massie full time.
I was on site, right. I was on site full time at Clinton-Massie while I was teaching there.
Mhm.
And I had a resource room at the elementary for gifted kiddos. And then over at the middle school, I co-taught honors and advanced math and English language arts classes with teachers at the middle school.
That is such a wide spectrum of things. So English, special ed, and then honors.
So English language arts, so like advanced reading classes,
Yeah.
and then advanced math classes at the middle school. And then at the elementary, I had a resource room for gifted kiddos.
Okay.
I worked with, so in gifted education, there are different identifications, areas in which students can be identified in Ohio. And one of those areas is superior cognitive, which is an area where I serve students in my resource room. And then I also did math and reading enrichment at the elementary as well. Absolutely loved it.
Okay. So I did that wrong. So you serve special, like advanced, not special as in like learning disabilities.
Correct.
Okay,
Right.
gotcha.
So gifted education is considered a form of special education, kind of in the spectrum. It's a part of it, part of the field. It's just kind of a different end of the field.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So we'll kind of connect some dots between how you went from there to now superintendent. But before that, more about you. What are some of your hobbies outside of work?
Yeah, so great question. I am an avid sports fan. Like to follow sports. Big fan of the Cincinnati Reds. And like to follow them. Like to also keep an eye on my niece and nephew and the activities that they're involved in. My niece is 11 and my nephew is 13, and so there are students here in the city here in Wilmington and are involved in different activities. So I love to follow them to all of their different sporting events and athletic events that they attend. I guess personally, a little bit more about me. I'm a history buff. Love history and learning, specifically U.S. history. One of my biggest interests is probably U.S. presidential history,
Okay.
which is a very kind of unique niche, but it's something that I'm really interested in. One of my bucket list travel items is to get to all of the U.S. presidential museums and libraries across the country. Proud to report that I only have 4 left to get to. So looking to figure out how I can make that happen here within the next few years. But I just love going and learning about U.S. presidents and U.S. history in that context. As I mentioned earlier, also live on a farm here in Clinton County, and so like to be a part of helping my family and supporting the farm. My brother and my father do the farming, but I like to help support them when I'm able to, when I'm not working. And I also will have cattle on the farm as well. And so I enjoy being outdoors, taking care of the animals and just really working outside around the house and out in the yard. Have a pretty large yard. And so I get to spend a lot of time during the summer mowing. And so I do enjoy that. It's my think time.
Yeah. That's probably nice if you have such a administrative heavy job, then get out and look at your hands for a bit.
It is, most definitely. I enjoy mowing because I get to just kind of have time by myself and I can just process and think through things and reflect. And I tell people as well, I like to help out on the farm is because I just show up and say, okay, tell me what to do and where do you want me to go? I don't have to make any decisions or, anything like that. I just do what I'm told, which is a nice kind of change from my 9 to 5 job during the workday.
Yeah, I'm telling so many people what to do.
Right, right.
I had a question about your presidential hobby.
Yeah.
So, apart from recent presidents, who is your favorite president in history and why?
Oh man, that's a tough question. I like many people, I would say I'm a fan of Abraham Lincoln. And kind of just what he stood for and have a lot of respect for his very humble beginnings and where he came from and came to a point to be able to lead the nation and leading the nation in a really challenging time in US history. So I just give credit to him and his ability to be able to do that.
Yeah, very cool. My last question about you personally is if you would share a defining moment of your life that's helped make you who you are or help shape your values and personality.
Great question. So I don't know that it's necessarily a defining moment, but I would say my family has had a very significant impact on the person that I am today. I give credit to my parents for modeling what it looks like to work hard every day and serve others. I come from a family of farmers and teachers. And so I would say I'm proud to be a fourth generation teacher. And I really give credit to those teachers before me and my family who helped me understand, what it's like to be in education and really what our purpose is in supporting the future of our society. So I've been blessed to have many opportunities to get to see the impact that both my mom, who retired from Clinton-Massie several years ago, as well as my grandma, who was a longtime teacher in Clinton County. Most of her years were spent in the Wilmington City Schools. So just getting to really see them and the connections that they've made and the impact that they've made has made a difference on me and really has encouraged me to want to do the same for our community. My grandma taught a total of 70 years. She taught full-time for 50 years and then retired and then substitute taught for another 20 years. And so she's had an impact here in Clinton County, and it's something I'm really proud of and something that I hope to continue to do. I'm not saying that I'm going to be working for 70 years, but certainly hope to try to carry on that tradition of education and that legacy that both my grandma and my mom have demonstrated for me.
70 years is a long time.
It is a long time.
70 years?
70 years. So she taught full-time for 50 years. She started teaching in 1943 and retired in 1993. So keep in mind, it was a different time, right?
Sure.
But still 50 years is a long way to go. She retired from Wilmington City Schools and then came back right away and substitute taught, like I said, for nearly another 20 years. She loved to do long-term substitute positions and she only subbed at the elementaries. So at the time she subbed at Denver Place, East End, and Holmes Elementary here in the Wilmington School District.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
So back to your career, you mentioned that you transitioned to the Southern Ohio Education Service Center, but you were working at Clinton-Massie, and then kind of talk through your career journey to where you are now as superintendent of the ESC.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. So like I said, I was blessed to have the opportunity to serve as the gifted intervention specialist at Clinton-Massie, where I worked with primarily elementary and middle school students, but supported at the high school, as my schedule allowed. And then after teaching in the classroom, I transitioned into the role of gifted coordinator of gifted services and programming. And so at that point, I physically transferred from Clinton-Massie to the ESC office here in Wilmington, physically moved offices and served as the coordinator of gifted services and programs for Clinton-Massie, Blanchester, and East Clinton local schools. So at that time, it was kind of a countywide program, and I served as the coordinator. And then we had gifted intervention specialist teachers working in each of those three schools. The model has now changed a little bit, and it looks a little different today, but that's what it looked like several years ago when I was serving in that position. And then from gifted coordination and gifted education, which is, I say, is my first educational love and always will be. I have a special place in my heart for students who are identified as gifted and talented. I moved into teaching and learning and curriculum and professional development, and I became what was called at the time a school improvement consultant and provided support to teachers and administrators around curriculum, instruction, and assessment, and provided professional development and training sessions, as well as technical assistance support to both teachers as well as building and district administrators. And then I stayed in that department and had a title change to Director of Teaching and Learning, and helped to support our teaching and learning program out of the ESC, which again supports areas around curriculum, instruction, assessment, professional development, data analysis, technology integration, and those types of topics in schools. And then did a little bit of a 180 and transitioned into human resources for the organization. So I went from teaching and learning and curriculum and professional development to supporting the human resources of our organization, and transitioned into the role of assistant superintendent, where my primary responsibility was to oversee human resources and personnel. And so really made efforts to support our staff as best as possible internally. I kind of shifted my focus from externally working with our districts and developing strong partnerships with our outside partners to more of an internal focus on our own staff, and really growing our own people and trying to support our own people as best as possible, and taking over the responsibilities around recruitment and hiring of our staff. And then from there, transitioned into the role of superintendent. And so I'm in my second year as superintendent of the Southern Ohio Educational Service Center, and really feel that I've had an opportunity to kind of pull from all of the experiences that I've had from classroom teaching and understanding the demands day to day of being in a school, and what that entails, to the curriculum and the professional development pieces around, what we do in the schools, and then also bringing my experiences around human resources and personnel management to my position as superintendent.
So is that position as superintendent, is that an appointed position? Do you have a board at the ESC that chooses that person?
Great question. So yes, we do have a governing board. It is similar to a school board, but a little different in some respects, but similar in many respects. We do have a 9-person governing board, and they're tasked with choosing and hiring the superintendent as well as the treasurer of the ESC. And so we have, as I said, a 9-member board who represent regions and school districts across our region. So we have a few that represent the Clinton County area, a few that represent Fayette County, Highland County, as well as into Adams County as well.
Are each of those positions on the board elected at the county level, and those, are they appointed?
Yes, they're elected. They're all elected. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Yep.
This wasn't one of my questions, and it might be, I don't want to dive too deep into it, but can you kind of explain how curriculum at schools are created? Because it was my understanding that you have at a school level, there's a curriculum person, there's some curriculum that's set at a state level, and you said you came in and kind of helped the schools with their curriculum and teachers with curriculum. So how does curriculum work in our schools?
Yeah, that's a loaded question.
Okay,
so
just like high level,
yeah. So school districts, adopt curriculum and curricular resources and materials, and they have a lot of options in what they can adopt. And so as districts complete what's called the adoption and implementation process, we are able to come in and come alongside them in helping to really vet materials that are available out there for districts to utilize, And then once they end up choosing particular curricular resources that they wish to adopt, then we can work alongside them to build implementation plans around professional development. So helping teachers to understand, here's what the materials look like, and here's, how they can be implemented with fidelity, which is a really important part to make sure that once curriculum is adopted, we're actually using it and using it with fidelity. The State Department of Education and Workforce provides some curricular resources and some guidance, but it really, in many respects, it's kind of left up to the local schools, the school district to make that local decision. There are state standards, curriculum instructional standards that must be taught at each grade level. So it's important to make sure that the curricular resources that are selected and used are aligned with the state's instructional standards to make sure that students are being taught what it is that they're supposed to be taught. And then, of course, as a part of that process is the assessment piece as well, and working with teachers and schools to utilize and design assessment practices that are assessing we're teaching content, and then how are we assessing it to know that what we're teaching is actually sticking, right? The students are actually learning what it is that we're teaching, aligned back to the standards that have been set by the State Department of Education and Workforce.
Yeah. Thanks for the high level overview.
Very long-winded response.
No, but it's concise enough to understand. Yeah. Now, can you talk about the ESC's history a little bit, the background of the organization, how it got started, and what it does?
Sure. Yeah. Great. Another great question. So, are you ready for a history lesson?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, for a little bit of history, there are currently 51 ESCs, or Educational Service Centers, in the state of Ohio. Some of those ESCs are single county ESCs, like, for example, the Warren County ESC is a single county ESC, and some of them are multi-county ESCs. We're an example of a multi-county ESC because we serve Clinton, Fayette, and Highland counties, primarily with services. So there are 51 of us across the state, and some larger than other. Geographically, we're kind of mid-sized to one of the larger geographically. In terms of students, we are roughly supporting around 16,000 students across a 3-county region across the schools. But the ESC, and specifically the Southern Ohio ESC, actually evolved from Ohio's county school districts, which were established back in 1914. So again, hang tight with me here for a little bit of a history lesson. The county school districts, like I said, were established back in 1914, and that was kind of transforming them from oversight bodies to service providers offering technology, special education, professional development, and other services. Our kind of lineage as an ESC actually traces back to what was called the Clinton-Fayette Highland Educational Service District, or ESD, and it was formed by county board mergers between the Clinton County Board of Education, the Fayette County Board of Education, and the Highland County Board of Education. And then a few years later, Adams County, Ohio Valley schools joined, and that's when we became the Southern Ohio ESC, or Educational Service Center, serving Adams, Clinton, Fayette, and Highland counties. So we've served in this capacity for many years, but it's looked a little different as we've kind of gone through these iterations and these mergers and these changes. Like I said, as the Southern Ohio ESC, we currently serve school districts in Clinton, Fayette, and in Highland counties.
How did Brown County get into the mix?
Great question. So Brown County has its own ESC. They're another ESC of that 51 across the state, and they provide services, many of the same services that we provide. They provide to school districts in that area, as well as providing some services to the Adams County, Ohio Valley School District. As the Southern Ohio ESC, we are the fiscal agent for what's called the Region 14 State Support Team, or SST. In education, we love our acronyms. So we have a contract, an agreement with the Ohio Department of Education workforce to essentially receive funds and employ staff to carry out deliverables from the Department of Education workforce through our state support team. The state support team has a specific list of deliverables, and they work with districts to create plans to support them with their needs. And so our state support team covers a 5-county region: Clinton, Fayette, Highland, as well as Adams and Brown County. So as I said earlier, some of our staff are supporting schools in Brown County. We also have kind of another arm of the ESC is our special education service cooperative. And that's, again, based out of the Hopewell Center in Highland County. And so our Hopewell Center Service Cooperative is a joint cooperative of school districts. And so essentially we have contracts with the school districts, and they pay the ESC to be a part of this consortium. And then we employ a variety of related service providers who are working directly in the schools supporting students and staff. And so we employ physical therapists, physical therapy assistants, occupational therapists, certified occupational therapy assistants. We employ speech language pathologists. We employ social workers, psychologists, teachers who provide visually impaired services, as well as teachers of the deaf, hard of hearing, and educational interpreters, as well as we have one audiologist on staff as well. And then we also employ board certified behavioral analysts, or BCBAs, who provide support with helping to understand, student behaviors, and if there's a situation where there's a need for us to come in and provide a referral to understand, why a student is behaving the way that they're behaving. One of our specialists can come in and help to identify kind of the root cause for behaviors, and then work to build a plan with that educational team around supporting that student. So those folks are employed by the ESC, working through the cooperative, and are working directly with students and educators across a 5-county region. Quite complex.
Yeah.
But that's a little sampling of what we offer. So really, when you think about this, we've kind of got 4 legs of the organization. We have the state support team that I was talking about earlier, the SST. We have our related service providers through the Hopewell Services Cooperative. And then we also have a program that's housed here in our Wilmington office, called the Southern Ohio Learning Center, or the SOLC. And this is a student-facing program, meaning it's a program for students. And we have a little under 20 students right now in the program. And these are students who, for a variety of reasons, have not been the most successful in their home school setting. And so they will, when I say home school, I don't mean necessarily home education, their home district. So they'll come to us, and we have trained specialists intervention specialists who lead those classes. And we have mental health therapy provided and other supports that we work to provide those students, to provide them with an opportunity to be successful in their educational journey, and also get access to a variety of other supports and services that they need. So some of those kiddos will stay with us for several years, and then get to a point where they'll transition back to their home school district. And sometimes they'll end up staying with us through the course of their high school career, and they'll finish with us. They still earn a diploma from their home school district, but we are able to provide them with another educational setting to meet their needs. So that's kind of a third leg. And then really the fourth and final leg of the organization is the ESC services that we provide. That includes, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the curriculum and professional development supports, as well as some human resources services, technology support services, and also some fiscal support services that we provide directly to school districts. So,
can you go back a little bit and talk about when these ESCs or ESDs first started off in the counties? You said that they were mostly oversight organizations or groups. and then they became more service providers. Is that what you think you said? So can you kind of describe the differences between what they did as a oversight organization versus a service provider organization?
Yeah, great question. So I will tell you that I was actually in school myself when the organization was serving in more of that oversight. And so I can't go into too many specific details, but I certainly remember my teachers talking about the Board of Education. And so the County Board of Education was an entity that would help support the local school districts. We've really transitioned now to an organization that is based on service. And so we've really, as an ESC and NESCs across the state, have expanded from kind of being that oversight entity to actually providing a lot of resources. So we provide a lot of services, professional development services, and then we also employ a lot of staff who are working directly in the schools. And that's not something that would have been the case years ago when there were the more traditional county boards.
So did they have a staff back then when it was oversight, or was it just a board that was it, and now it's like a staff?
So they had a staff, but it would have been a smaller staff. Yeah. Right now we're sitting around 100 staff members across our organization who, again, are serving across a 5-county region. A lot of our staff are out working directly in schools. Some of our staff are housed full-time in our office in Wilmington or our office in Highland County, the Hopewell Center. And then, a lot of our staff travel, providing support across multiple schools. Some staff are assigned to one school district or one building. Other staff are traveling across multiple schools in the county or even across the county on a regular basis. So our folks do a lot of traveling and a lot of driving. And in addition to providing support at school districts, some of our staff will actually go and provide support at, like, for example, Head Starts or preschool programs that aren't necessarily a traditional school district. And then we have some staff who are actually providing home itinerant services, meaning that they will actually travel to a child's home to provide, very specialized, specific services. Most of our staff are out working directly in schools on a daily basis, but we've got staff who are anywhere and everywhere.
So do you guys cover schools like Laurel Oaks and the Christian Academy too? Does that fall under your umbrella?
So, great question. School districts in the state of Ohio, if they're under a certain student population, are required to belong to an ESC, traditional public school districts. Christian schools don't fall under that same requirement. So they're not required to belong to an ESC. However, we have provided support for them in the past. We've provided some professional development support to the Wilmington Christian Academy, for example. We have an agreement contract currently in place with Hillsborough Christian Academy, and we're providing some support there to an educator at that school, but they don't necessarily have belong to an ESC. Laurel Oaks is a little different as well. So they're a part of the Great Oaks career campuses, which is a little different and not technically like a traditional K-12 public school district, but we also do provide support to them as well through curriculum and professional development. We actually employ a campus monitor who works full-time at Laurel Oaks and helps to provide some safety and security services there. We employ a couple of social workers, a family engagement coordinator, who are, again, employees of the ESC, but are assigned full-time at Laurel Oaks. We have a pretty strong relationship with Great Oaks and the Laurel Oaks career campus. We've had that relationship for many, many years. It's a very strong relationship and one that we're really proud of. If you come visit us at our office in Wilmington on Airborne Road, you're actually going to be in a building that's owned by Great Oaks career campuses. So we don't actually own the building. We lease it from the Great Oaks career campuses.
Because their campus is just down the street from you then.
Yes. Yep. Just the Laurel Oaks main campus is just right down the road. So the equine program of Laurel Oaks is actually up where our office is. If you go out back, you'll find the horse barn and the animals are out there. And so there are some Laurel Oaks students who are up, not in our building, in the building currently, but are, on campus. Laurel Oaks had student programs in the building that we're in at one point. They've now transitioned the majority of those programs down to their main campus after the renovations and expansion that they've done. They've been able to transition them all under one roof, one campus, with the exception of the equine program.
I think it's good for me to have these conversations because, like you said, like, what does your organization do? What does Laurel Oaks do? You guys share buildings, so it kind of gets messy.
Yeah,
it's good to like understand at high level how it all breaks down and separates.
It is quite complex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how the ESC is funded?
Great question. So we receive some funding from the State Department of Education. We receive some funding through state and federal grants. So through special education grants, we receive some funding there. And then the majority of our funding is what's considered a fee-for-service ESC. And so a lot of the revenue that we bring in as an organization is through the contracts and agreements that we have in place with the school districts that we serve. And so, we will enter into agreements with the school districts that we serve. They will pay us for those services, and then we, in return, we'll turn around and provide those services, whether that be personnel or through other types of professional development services or other services. So it's kind of a mix, but the majority of our funding is coming from the districts and schools that we serve.
So you have 4 pillars, you said, of services that you offer. One of the questions I had was just maybe an example of how that works. So maybe an example of the service you provide to a local school district and like the impact that that's had on the school. So like an example of an actual project you did with them or an engagement you had with them, and how did that impact the school?
Sure. Okay. So, there's a lot I'm thinking of, but I'll start with an example for Blanchester Local Schools, for example. So, with Blanchester Local Schools, our teaching and learning team has been working with their educators and their administrators for several years now to really reflect upon their professional development and their strategic planning. And so we've been able, over the course of many years, to sit down with them and develop tools to collect data, kind of like baseline data, to understand where things are instructionally as a district. And so the educators and the administrators have been working to collect this data. And then once the data was collected, we're then able to identify some very specific professional learning focuses that they wanted to adopt in order to improve and address academic success. And so once that process was completed, then our team has been able to develop ongoing professional learning over the course of several years. And so our team members are down there working alongside educators in classrooms, helping to observe and provide feedback to teachers on how they're teaching and what they're teaching, but then also providing professional development to large groups during professional development days that schools will have at different points throughout the course of the year. And then a part of that focus has also been on coaching and supporting administrators. So building principals and curriculum staff and special education staff to empower them with the tools, resources, and confidence to be able to then really carry out what's being done and designed for the classrooms. So we're really proud of the work that we've done there with the with Blanchester, and they've made leaps and bounds in their progress and have really done some really great things. They've really focused in, as many of our districts in the region have, focused in around literacy and working to improve literacy for engagement for students around the science of reading, which is a very kind of hyper-focused approach to teaching reading and supporting students with literacy and reading. So that's been a great partnership and something that we're really proud of. Another piece that I'll share that kind of involves all of the school districts here in Clinton County is around workforce development. And so as an organization, we provide a lot of support through workforce development through what's called our Business Advisory Council, or our BAC. Every school district in the state is required to either have their own BAC or belong to a Business Advisory Council. And all of our school districts across our region in Clinton, Fayette, and Highland counties actually belong to the Southern Ohio ESC's BAC. And then
So many acronyms.
So many acronyms. We're loaded. We've
Yeah,
got them. So we've got this regional business advisory council, and then underneath it we have county level business advisory councils: the Clinton County BAC, the Fayette County BAC, and the Highland County BAC. And so a part of the Clinton County BAC is the another acronym. You ready?
Man.
The CCWC, or the Clinton County Workforce Collaborative. So you've probably heard maybe about the Clinton County Workforce Collaborative. And this is an organization that kind of falls under this umbrella of the Business Advisory Council, working to support workforce development efforts for students in the community. So the collaborative meets on a monthly basis at the ESC, and we have all of the districts at the table engaged in this project, and really trying to ensure that we're as a community providing opportunities for students in K-12 school to get exposure to what type of career opportunities exist and what's out there. And then once they begin to identify some potential pathways, then provide them with experiences to actually understand what it's like to be a XYZ, on a daily basis. And so that's where we get into some job shadowing experiences or internship experiences once students begin to identify what it is that they think they want to do, after high school. So the Workforce Collaborative has worked with all four of the school districts here in Clinton County to host what have become kind of some annual events, including the Career Exploration Fair.
So you guys do that program?
Yep. So we're a part of that. So we kind of serve in the role of bringing all the partners to the table. We really, as an organization, try to leverage our ability to bring all the partners to the table and design solutions around the specific needs that we're trying to address. So Career Exploration Fair is something that our organization helps to support through the Workforce Collaborative and the Business Advisory Council. The Community Job and Resource Fair that's held in the spring is another event that the collaborative helps to support. There are student immersion tours where we'll work with the schools to identify students. A lot of times they're middle school students who will provide them with opportunities to go visit one of the businesses here in Clinton County, whether that be ATSG or the Sheriff's Department, or whatever that looks like for students who have an interest in learning more about law enforcement or manufacturing or aviation or the healthcare. We might take them to one of the local healthcare providers and give them kind of a behind the scenes look of the different jobs that are available here locally in healthcare. There's a lot going on, but that's just an example of some of the ways in which we work to provide support to the educators here in Clinton County. We do book studies as well for educators. We also, again, coming back to leveraging our partnerships and networks, we also facilitate networks and roundtables for job-alike groups. So we provide opportunities for district superintendents to come together, for curriculum directors and specialists, special education coordinators, school counselors and social workers, literacy specialists. I'm forgetting a few here, but we do provide those networks as well.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah, we've got a great team who work extremely hard.
I like these. Like a practical example of what you do is the workforce events and things for students to go to. I think my team and I went to that just a few months ago.
Yes.
And it was really neat to see all the businesses come together, students come together, and get to see what's going on.
Yeah.
So it was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. We're really proud of our partnership with the Workforce Collaborative, as well as our partners with the Clinton County Port Authority, the Wilmington Clinton County Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Ohio Means office, Ohio Means Jobs office here in Clinton County.
I have a question about metrics and things that get measured. So you do a lot of things that facilitate good stuff going on. How do you measure success in different areas? Like, what metrics do you guys keep track of?
Great question. So I would say kind of on a global level, we work to help the districts understand their evaluation and their ratings through the state report card. Right. And so we'll sit down with districts and kind of do a deep dive to understand why they're receiving the ratings that they're receiving, and the star ratings or so forth that they're receiving. So we use that information to help us reflect on what we're doing well, and maybe what we areas in which we can improve. But we also sit down with individual districts and have conversations around listening sessions, if you will, to understand from their perspectives, what are we doing really well as an organization and where can we improve. And so we'll collect that information through conversations. So we look at not only quantitative data, but also qualitative data to help us improve and ensure that our services are making a true impact in the community. Some of our teams also have very specific, I'll call them rubrics, that they utilize to kind of self-assess the support that they're providing as well to schools.
Can we maybe dive a little bit into literacy? I'm under the impression that like early childhood literacy is a problem, not just in Clinton County, but maybe even Ohio nationwide. It seems like our scores are a little bit lower on that as well. How are we like tackling that issue? What can be done? What are some like best practices, and what contributes to the problem of early childhood literacy also?
Great question. So I would say first, I will profess to say I am not necessarily the literacy specialist,
Yeah.
but I'll share kind of from my perspective. I think what we've learned through research and study over the course of several years is that early intervention is truly key. And so really designing the supports to support kiddos at a very young age is really seems to be the key to combating literacy challenges. So, we employ staff, like I said earlier, literacy specialists who are providing coaching supports to small groups of teachers to help them understand not only the science of reading, which helps us understand like how we read, but also how we teach reading, and how we teach kids to read, and understanding that kids learn in different ways, right? So I think one of the things that we've learned is there's not a one size fits all model. And while we can use certain methodologies to help us teach kids how to read, we need to take the time to figure out how we can kind of adjust our teaching methodologies to the needs of specific kids. And so school districts across the county and really the state are developing what's called reading improvement plans, or RIMPs, for students who are just not showing the academic literacy success that we want to see. And so these are specialized improvement plans that are set to identify what are specific students' difficulties or deficiencies, and then working with literacy specialists as well as classroom teachers to design very kind of intensive intervention programs and supports to work with kids one-on-one and in small groups.
I kind of honed in on that literacy piece.
Yeah.
But I think I saw that was like the state report card, whatever, kind of deemed that one for at least Wilmington. So I just want to kind of know more about why that's a problem and how it can be addressed.
Yeah. It's definitely an area of focus. I think not only for Wilmington, but also for other school districts here in the in the county and the region, and really across the state. Well, across the nation.
Yeah, definitely. Are there any specific projects that you're currently working on, or future project plans that you want to talk about?
Another great question. I would say internally as an organization, we've been working hard over the last probably 4 years to really take an audit around our practices and our philosophies around human capital, and really trying to reflect on the ways in which we are working as an organization to ensure that we are employing the highest quality folks, and also employing them with the tools and resources to do the very best. And so, as a part of that process, something that you may have heard that some school districts in the state and across the nation will do is called a portrait of a graduate, where they will identify, these are the competencies, or this is what it looks like for a student who graduates from our school. We want them to be, X, Y, and Z. And we support districts with working through that process and identifying their own portrait of a graduate. But we've decided to take it from an internal perspective, and I create a portrait of an SOESC employee. And so we've really identified 5 key areas in which we want to see in all of our staff, not only prospective staff who have an interest in coming to work for us, but also our current staff. And so we'll have conversations with staff around and provide them with self-reflection opportunities to think about what are areas in which they're currently strong, and maybe what's an area in which they have to grow, and work to provide them with some supports to grow. So our 5 core key competencies, or portrait of a Southern Ohio ESC professional, are to be problem solvers, to be collaborators, to be relationship builders, to be self-motivated and goal-driven, and to be lifelong learners. And so we really try to embed these core competencies into all that we do, professional development that we provide, and really just kind of day-to-day operations as an organization. We'll ask folks to reflect upon, how are they being a problem solver? How are they being a collaborator? How are they being a relationship builder, not only internally, but also with our external partners from school districts and other community agencies that we support? How are they being self-motivated and goal-driven? We don't see our staff on a daily basis. They're out working in schools, so we really need them to be self-motivated and be able to get the job done without someone being right there with them all the time. And then also a lifelong learner. We think it's important that we as an organization model what we want for kids. And so we want to be able to model being a lifelong learner.
I like that. I like before I was asking the question about like, what are some things that you measure in the schools? But I like that you have this, it's not just a mission statement. It's like, this is what we aspire our employees to look like, or our graduates to look like, and kind of measure the employees based on that. And then like, even if they're lower in one area, you can train them up in that one area. Right. I should do that for my team here.
Okay, there you go.
Molly's
might be a great idea. Molly seems very excited.
I don't know what it would be. Probably just like Molly after Molly,
Oh, stop.
Use Molly as the motto. That is funny. As an organization and as the leader of our organization, I when I first transitioned into this role as superintendent, really identified 3 expectations for our staff, and I will reiterate these often with them. In fact, we'll be talking about them at our next staff meeting on next Friday. But those 3 core principles for me are: I want our staff to be a champion for children. And all that we do and all of the decisions that we make, it all has to come back to what's best for kids. The second is to be an ambassador of the Southern Ohio ESC. I want our staff to be out in the communities that we serve, positively representing our organization. And then lastly is to simply be well. And we have conversations around what that looks like. It looks different for all of us in terms of what being well is. But to me, that's really important, that our staff are well, again, has a very broad definition, in order to be able to best serve our community. So that's it. Be a champion for children, be an ambassador of the Southern Ohio ESC, and be well.
Has it been a challenge to transition from teaching students to being a leader of an organization? What are some things that you've maybe changed or admired in that process of growth?
Yeah, I reflect back on teaching all the time, and there are days that I really miss being in the classroom, and then there are other days when I don't miss it as much. But so when I was teaching in the classroom, one of the things that I always try to do is to make sure to build positive relationships with students. It all comes down to relationships. And if as educators, we can connect with students and help them to understand, we're here on their side to help them out, then they're going to be more successful. If they feel like it's a place where they want to be, it's a safe place, it's a place where they can learn, it's a place where they can make mistakes and learn from those mistakes and develop a little bit of grittiness. And I would say that's a lesson that I've tried to carry over into leadership is really just trying to build relationships and really nurture and foster those relationships, not only with educators, school district superintendents, with board members, and other educational service providers, but also other agencies and partners in the communities that we serve. It all comes down to relationships.
I can see maybe a challenge in my mind would be you have, your teacher, you teach students, they might have an attitude about something and like you have to deal with it from students. But then as a leader, you got to deal with adults, like.
Sure. Yeah. When you work with people, sometimes you have to have tough conversations. And, when we have to have those tough conversations, we sit down and we have those tough conversations. But I think, before we get to that point, it's important that we have developed those relationships. And so when it's time for those tough conversations, it's my hope that people understand this is not coming from a place of, I just don't like you. That's not it at all. It's just that, we're not getting the work done, or we're not meeting the expectations that have been set forth for us. And, again, it all comes back to what we're doing for kids and ensuring that what we're doing is providing a high quality service. So, we do have to have those tough conversations with adults. It is what it is, but, it's important in my mind. It's important that people understand kind of the why behind, why we have to sometimes have those conversations, and hopefully, people will understand that it's not personal. It's never personal. It's just kind of is what it is.
Yeah. Can you recap again kind of what the ESC does and what's the value for our community and our school districts? And then we'll kind of end with some fun questions about what keeps you passionate and positive things in the community.
Sure. Yeah. So we are an educational service provider who works to support the varying needs of school districts across the county and the region, but we're also really proud of the partnerships that we have with other agencies and organizations. And so, while we are traditionally thought of as a support to the K-12 education world, we were watching and seeing as we're kind of expanding and growing our footprint and really making an effort to partner with other community service providers in an effort to pull together in those wraparound support services, and knowing that students are going to succeed not necessarily just based on great teaching and high academic scores, but students are going to succeed when they truly have opportunities to learn about who they are, learn about who they want to be, get those opportunities to grow and thinking about their own career readiness. But also, one of the key roles that we play is being a support to the educators and the network opportunities that we provide through our organization to the adults who are working within our educational system as well.
So what keeps you personally passionate about all of that?
I am I don't know why I sighed, because that's a great question. And so I get really excited about this because I'm a service-oriented person, both in my personal and professional life. I like to do a lot of volunteering in my personal life, and in my professional life, that service just carries right over. I am a person who believes in helping and supporting others. And so I think that really excites me about the work that we do as an organization. As I joke and tell people, service is literally our middle name, Educational Service Center, right? And so, for me, it just all comes back to service to others.
I think it's easy to see that when you teach a student, like you're serving that one student, you see the impact in their life. But I feel like I'm sure you're very connected with seeing your impact in the community, like how you facilitate different things happening. Like that, it does carry over. It's like a similar thing, but it's at a wider community level.
Yes, definitely.
What's a quote or a piece of wisdom that has helped guide you that you want to share with other people? Maybe something recent or something that stuck with you for a while.
So this is not too recent, but I shared with you earlier my interest in U.S. presidential history. I'm gonna go way back and share a quote from John Quincy Adams that resonates with me and kind of grounds me and what I do as a leader each day. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you're a leader. And so, like I said, it's all about providing, really kind of fostering this environment for others to be able to have an impact on others. One person certainly can't do it alone. And, I feel part of my role as the superintendent of our organization is really kind of fostering this culture that encourages folks to want to collaborate and work together for the betterment of others.
Mm-hmm. What is a positive change that you would like to see in our community?
Yeah, we're having a lot of conversations right now as a county around workforce development, and I think that we have opportunities to really expand upon the support that we're providing. We're not there yet, but I think we're going to get there. And like I said, we're having conversations, had some conversations earlier this week and last week with partners across the county to really build I guess a comprehensive kind of strategic plan to address and support workforce development for the county. That's something that I'm pretty excited about.
Does that mean, like, how do we transition our students into workers in our county? What's that path like? What does that mean? Workforce development, what does that mean exactly?
Yeah. So I'm thinking about it from a K-12 perspective and really thinking about how are we providing students with the skills and resources to be ready to move into the workplace and into a career, into employment after high school. For those students who, college is not the right option, or military or something like that is not the right option, really kind of beefing up that system is something that I think is really important, and something that we're working to try to achieve that.
You guys do have different requirements on you. One is the academic piece of getting a good GPA, and then one is helping kids finish into the workforce. Even if they get a good GPA and go to college, they still at some point are going to have to enter the workforce. So you have multiple things you're trying to hit with students.
Right.
It's a challenge.
Yes. Yeah. And we've got a great community in Wilmington and Clinton County and really the surrounding area. And we also want to help young people understand, this is a great place to work, it's a great place to live, and it's a great place to play, right? And so, if you choose to go off to school or for a training, out of the area, that's great, that's wonderful. But think about coming back. Think about coming back and giving back to the community that helped to raise you. We've got some great things happening here.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being on our podcast and all that you do for our community. Any closing thoughts, or how can people best connect with you if they want to do that?
Yeah, so folks can follow us on social media, Southern Ohio ESC, and can also visit our website, www.soesc.org, or can also come visit us at our one of our 2 locations, but our office out on Airborne Road. We're always happy to have folks come and visit us.
Cool. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Well, that's it for our podcast today. I hope you enjoyed our interview with Curt Bradshaw, the current superintendent of the Southern Ohio Educational Service Center on Airborne Road. If you have more questions or ideas for him, please feel free to reach out directly. If he will talk with us dorks, he will certainly talk with you as well. After all, we are a community of empowered individuals. If you want to get in touch with Real Change Wilmington and share your story, you can contact us on our website at realchangewilmington.com. Visit our Facebook and Instagram pages, or grab a free copy of our local newspaper at Kroger, Sam's Meats, and Fiesta Veracruz. We also currently send our newspaper direct mail to over 2,500 Wilmington residents every month. So if you want to help us cover our printing costs and advertise your local business, event, or job posting, please email us at advertise@realchangewilmington.com. With that, I'm your host, Dustin Pierce. Keep it real, Wilmington.